If you guys haven't heard, the USA tabled a resolution at the UN asking for UN Security Council permission to invade Haiti. Of course, they don't use the word invade because, all about the euphemisms and all that. It's the classic thing where you ask your buddies if they'll give you permission to do something that the people of the country do not want you to do to them at all. And then because your friends and your allies say yes, that apparently makes it legitimate. Can you imagine these dipshits if Russia went to its buddies and they said, oh yeah, you can invade Ukraine before invading Ukraine? I wonder if they'd accept that. It doesn't matter to them what the people who actually are going to be on the receiving end of this invasion think. All that matters to them is that they want to do it, so they're just going to ask their allies to rubber stamp it for them as per usual. Just for a little bit of background, I guess, because I have to talk about this every time I talk about Haiti because no one knows anything about it. Haiti was destroyed by France, indebted for hundreds of years as a result of it gaining its independence from France via a slave rebellion, and also indebted by all of Europe and the US, etc. They all participated in this. And then ever since then, the US has been intervening and fucking around with Haiti and doing everything possible to ensure the country is completely fucked up. And then fairly recently, the former president of Haiti was assassinated. And ever since then, his replacement obviously is not elected. There's been no elections or anything on who's going to replace him. And the government is incredibly, overwhelmingly unpopular. And there's protests against it basically every single day, 24/7. And what this government's request for help amounts to, for military help, they explicitly call for foreign military intervention, is they are not strong enough to put down the protesters, so they want the US and their buddies to come in and do it for them. And the Western media is trying to use the idea that all or most of the protests are actually just gang violence or something, rather than the fact that this unelected government is actually just incredibly unpopular and has no legitimacy whatsoever. So what this Western intervention, invasion, whatever euphemism they want to use, is essentially a military operation for Western militaries, primarily the US, Canada, etc., to put down overwhelmingly popular protests against a government that they would prefer to keep in power. That's 100% what this is. Of course, they have their pet excuses. I just went over the ridiculous, our friends in the UN said we can do it one. Another one they're going to be using is it's not an invasion because Haiti invited us. And it's well, what does Haiti invited us mean? Who invited you? The president of Haiti, who was never elected, and who is currently facing overwhelmingly popular protests calling for his resignation. That's even less of a justification as the self-declared president of Luhansk invited Russian troops into the region. So we were actually invited. It's not an invasion. Give me a fucking break here. The only way that Americans can understand is if you frame it as the other people doing the same thing. So I guess I have to say that. I guess I do need to do a Russia comparison, or compare it to a hamburger or something, then they'll get it. So it's all around just roundabout excuses for an invasion. They're trying to frame it as being, it's a humanitarian intervention, we're doing it for their own good, blah, blah. That's the same shit they always do. Just like how the Iraq War was about getting rid of the evil dictator and saving the Iraqi people, and not about securing oil for American companies and neoliberalizing the ever-loving fuck out of the Iraqi economy. And you're going to see, a lot of certain types of people, including streamers and content creators who claim to be left, justifying this inevitable invasion, because obviously the US's allies are going to rubber stamp it in the UN with exactly the talking points that I said here. It's not an invasion because countries aside from Haiti that just so happen to be our enthusiastic allies, just as invested in destroying it as we are, said it's okay. Oh, okay, that makes it okay. It doesn't matter what people in Haiti want. What matters is what a bunch of other countries want. You know what that got us? Israel. Because a bunch of random European Western imperialist countries came together and said, who cares what Palestinians want? We're going to give half of their country to foreign settler colonists. And that opened the floodgates to everything that came since. And of course, that they're going to say that we were invited by the president or whatever, as if that is even remotely anything that fucking legitimizes it. Like, God. It's insane how there are people who call themselves leftists who are also somehow true believers in this idea that the US does imperialism out of the goodness of its heart and just sort of makes mistakes now and again. And they're always like, the US does good and bad things. And invading Haiti, no, not invading, doing a humanitarian special military operation in Haiti, now that would be a good thing. Sure,
communism is based.
Blah, blah, blah. That's what they always say. The way they operate is basically the current war is always justified, whereas wars in the past, now that we see in retrospect, you can see much more clearly, unambiguously what they always were. They say that they're against those, yet while conspicuously always supporting the newest wars, such as Haiti, they're going to be supporting wholeheartedly. They're going to be deep-throating the fucking military-industrial complex's veiny cock. The cock's got some nice contours, by the way, 10 out of 10. Like, the only reason why a lot of the people who, in this sort of commentary sphere, who claim to be on the left, claim that they are opposed to the Iraq War is because they were 2 years old when it happened. If you took them now, back to when the Iraq War was started, took their exact brain back there right now, they would 100% be supporting it. It's only because it's socially unacceptable for them to support it in retrospect that they say they don't now. Same with Afghanistan, same with Libya, same with anything else. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to see it with Haiti. You're going to see exactly this. They always support the US's current war. Always justify the US's current war. Only when it inevitably results in the mass deaths of the victims of their invasion will they suddenly start to pretend that they actually believe something else the entire time. Because, obviously the USA doesn't give a fucking shit about Haitians. The USA doesn't give a shit about anything regarding this country. It doesn't give a shit about anything regarding the countries that it does anything to. All that it cares about is what it can get from them. And right now it has a government there that is it's borderline puppet begging it to send troops. They love that, trust me. They're gonna send in the troops, and those troops are gonna do some crowd control of the evil protesters who dare to protest against the unelected president backed by the US and the rest of the West. There's this great AP article that I actually just found, like literally 2 seconds ago. It's like the first thing on Google. Like, obviously the Western news agencies are trying to spin the ever-loving fuck out of this. Hosts misrepresent US response to instability in Haiti. AP News verification. It really says a fucking lot that they feel the need to post like some fact-checking thing about this. Claim the US military is invading Haiti. AP's assessment. False. While the US and Mexico said Monday that they are preparing a UN resolution that would authorize an international mission to help improve security in Haiti, well, that's a long fucking euphemism there. An international mission to help improve security. Russia, eat your fucking heart out. Special military operation? What about international mission to help improve security? False. They're not invading Haiti. They're preparing a UN resolution to authorize an international mission to help improve security, aka an invasion. This is literally a special military operation. This is great. And then it's like, the facts. Social media users have claimed the US is actively invading Haiti. Saying that they're invading it doesn't necessarily mean they're actively invading it. They're clearly preparing to invade it, which is why they're trying to get their friends at the UN to legitimize their invasion. Well, you're really, 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 really fucking reaching here to try and spin this as anything but an invasion. And then, like, they asked the US Department of State for comment, and they said that the US hopes that the UN Security Council will support the resolution and that what they call the mission, rather than invasion, of course, would improve the security situation and enable the flow of desperately needed humanitarian aid. Like, were people born fucking yesterday? Have you ever seen a US genocidal international military / diplomatic / intelligence operation before? This is the terminology they use every time. They don't say we're doing an invasion. They say we're doing a humanitarian intervention to help improve the security situation. Everything they're saying here is just a euphemism for, yep, we're gonna invade as soon as the UN says yes. As soon as our friends in the UN tell us we can do it, we're going in. That's what all of this means. Fucking hilarious. Since the early 1900s, there have been at least 3 major foreign military interventions. You see how it's always intervention. That's another euphemism they use for Western for Western atrocities is intervention instead of invasion. Like, people in Haiti do not want yet another US invasion of their country, especially not for the express purpose of keeping in an unelected US puppet president in power yet again. It's always an intervention. It's always a humanitarian operation. It's always a simple peacekeeping mission to overthrow an evil, brutal dictator and coincidentally also take all of the country's oil. But yeah, so look out for all of your favorite leftist content creators. Like, the second that the US and their buddies get their boots on the ground in Haiti and they actually notice what's happening there, because, they don't tend to notice these things until like a long time after they're already happening. As soon as that happens, get ready for them to say everything that I just said they would. Get ready for them to essentially sound like a US State Department press release.